Bank teller throws black man's ID on the floor. 2.3B partnership ends in silence. Before we dive into this story, hit the comments and tell us your city or country. Let's see how far this story reaches. If you like the video, please subscribe. The C. Bank was buzzing as a sharply dressed black man entered, calm and confident. But the moment he handed over his ID, the room froze. Not because of who he was, but because of what a teller did next. With a sneer, she tossed his ID to the floor like trash. No one knew he was the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, just minutes away from finalizing a $2.3 billion deal with their very own bank. But as silence took over and eyes turned, he bent down slowly, picked up his ID, and reached for his phone. What followed silenced the entire institution. Charles L. Bennett wasn't just any man. At 47, he had built a financial empire from the ground up. Bennett Capital Group, one of the fastest-growing firms on Wall Street. Today, he had arrived quietly at the local branch of Prescott National Bank to finalize the remaining signatures of a $2.3 billion merger. It was routine until it wasn't. Inside the bank, customers and employees bustled around, unaware of who had just stepped in. Wearing a simple navy suit and walking alone, Charles drew little attention until he approached the counter. The teller, a woman named Andrea, barely glanced up. She eyed him suspiciously, as if his presence challenged the air she breathed. Charles, calm and cordial, handed over his ID. What happened next triggered a storm that no one in the building was prepared. For Andrea looked at the ID, rolled her eyes, and tossed it onto the floor. Not dropped, tossed. The plastic card slid under the counter. "Pick it up," she snapped coldly, loud enough for others to hear. "You people are always showing up like you own the place." A hush spread across the room. Customers looked up. An older man in line muttered, "That's not right." A mother with her child pulled her phone out, quietly recording. Charles knelt, picked up the ID, and said nothing. His silence was heavier than any words. He walked over to a waiting chair, pulled out his phone, and made a single call. 10 minutes later, 3 executives from the bank's corporate division walked in, sweating despite the AC. One of them locked, eyes with Charles, pale with realization. That customer was their most important partner, without whom the entire merger was doomed. The room grew tense. Andrea crossed her arms, unaware. Charles stood slowly and walked back to the counter. Without raising his voice, he looked Andrea in the eye. "I came here today to finalize a $2.3 billion partnership with your institution," he said. "But if your employees treat strangers this way, how do you treat clients behind closed doors?" Andrea laughed awkwardly. "You're joking, right?" He didn't. Smile. "You just threw away the biggest deal your bank has ever seen." A man in a suit from corporate stepped forward, stammering, "Mr. Bennett, please, let's discuss this." Charles held up his hand. "It's already discussed. We'll be withdrawing all negotiations and taking our partnership elsewhere. Immediately." He turned and left. Andrea's face drained of color. Prescott National Bank lost more than a deal that day. The media picked up the story within hours, first through social media, then national news. Billionaire CEO drops 2.3B deal over racist. Incident became a trending headline. The company's stock plummeted by 9% over the course of 24 hours. Shareholders demanded accountability. Executives resigned. Andrea fired within the hour. But Charles didn't gloat. In a quiet statement, he said, "Dignity costs nothing, but disrespect can cost everything." His move wasn't about revenge, it was about setting a standard. One that said, no matter how powerful you are, the way you treat others defines you more than your title ever will. And sometimes, silence is the loudest message of all. If you enjoyed this story and thought it provoking, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful narratives. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done in this situation? Your support helps bring more eye-opening stories to life.